I'm Sharon. Welcome to my YouTube channel. If you're progressing through your instrumental studies, you'll find that time management is a huge problem. Well, it is for me anyway. I've certainly been struggling with that recently. And I think it's because the more you are able to do, the more you realise you have yet to learn to do. And your practice time just gets longer and longer and longer. And it's not really feasible all the time to just say, oh yes, I've got 2 hours every day to do some really deep study and really get into my practice. If you do, then, enjoy it, marvellous. But if that's not the case, it doesn't mean that you don't get done what you need to. You just need to be a bit more wise in the way you attribute the time. And as well, another factor is perhaps just keeping your concentration for such a long period of time can be quite tricky, and it's very tiring. It's also physically demanding as well, more so with some instruments than others. But even just sitting at the piano, you've got to keep your posture straight. Even though you're sitting down, you're using all sorts of muscles and you're using a lot of brain power, and it's very, very tiring. And so you may find that you just start to flag and you're not concentrating as well as you should be, and then you're not going to make the progress that you want to, and it becomes kind of a little bit self-destructive. And so just being a bit clever about it, really, although it's as obvious as anything when you think about it, break it up. Just divide your practice time into chunks. And so as you progress through the grades, or even if you're not doing grades, you should really be doing a good stint of scales and arpeggios and technical exercises. And that in itself isn't unenjoyable. It's quite relaxing. I've done vlogs all about how scales are enjoyable, they're rewarding, but they are time consuming. And so just practicing through your massive list of scales, then moving on to your pieces is perhaps too much. So why not allocate a separate practice time in a shorter stint to do your scales, arpeggios, technical exercises. You then go off, do something else, do other things that you need to do, give your brain something else to think about, get your muscles moving a bit, just have a stretch, do some other things. Then you come back and you can choose to dig into one of your pieces. And so that's really focused time where you'll be plugging away with a metronome or sorting notes out, and that's really the deep work. And so you can give yourself, say, 45 minutes if that's what it needs on that, and then time for a break. Go and have a brew, have a cup of tea, go and do all the other things that you need to do. Maybe perhaps even if we're working at home more than we perhaps used to be, it's a good break away from the computer or whatever it is that you're doing for your work, and just think, right, I'll just do in my lunch break, I'll just do 15 minutes scales, and then you've sort of had a break and you've also done something really helpful to your musical progression. So and then at the end of the night, if that suits your timetable, you can think, well, I've done my scales and I've really had to go at one of the pieces and I've really done some deep work. Now I'm just going to have a little bit of a playthrough, a bit of a recap to think about what I might need to work on tomorrow. So just because you've got a lot of practice to do, my scale list that I've set out for myself, it goes over many, many, many pages of A4 type. Thank goodness for the old copy and paste device now on the computer. I remember when I was doing my grade 8, I was about 17, and the list of scales back then, when I wrote everything out, it worked out at over 200 and something permutations. And of course I didn't have access to a computer. They were pretty thin on the ground, if at all existent. Gosh, those were the days, eh? And so what I did, I sort of mapped out a template, went to the library, photocopied it over several pages, many pages, and then just changed the key, so from C to C sharp, D, E flat, D sharp, and so on. And I sort of did it that way. So thank goodness for the old copy and paste. So I've sort of structured out and have divided it. If I just do one of these sheets each day, that's done. and then I'll just keep rotating around them because I just want to keep the scales in my fingers. I played them all, well not all, there's no end to all, is there? But I played loads of them, and then they kind of fall off the menu a bit, don't they? Because it's like, well, it's not on the syllabus, or I'm not doing this, so I want to get back to them. But there's no way I can get through this massive list of scales and all of my pieces. And as you progress, the pieces just get longer. And again, I remember on my grade 8, I was working through with a metronome on a Mozart sonata, and it was really tricky, the timing was, of course it was, and I had to clink through with the metronome slowly, so in quaver beats before I even got to crotchet beats. And I think it was like 12 pages long, you know, and your life's just stretching away before you as you're losing hours upon hours. You know, you can't do all of your scales and all of your pieces, especially as they get longer and longer. So, you know, just try and not get overwhelmed, but just break it up. Find times to do small, manageable chunks, and you get there. And then if you're in the mood and you feel like having a massive slog and you've got the afternoon free, well, go ahead and take all the time you like. But that's a luxury. It's not a necessity, and it's not something that we can do necessarily every day. But that doesn't mean that we can't get the job done. I hope that's helpful to you. Thanks for listening. See you next time. Bye.